I'm Les Lanphear. I'm from San Diego, California, and one of my big areas of collecting is U.S. penalty mail. And out of that, I've carved this presentation of what's it say? Oh, it says U.S. possessions and others. That's anything outside the 48 states that some people, they're almost possessions maybe, like Hawaii and that kind of stuff. So we'll hit all those and just okay. So U.S. penalty mail. Well, first off, official mail started in 1775 with free franc. Then in 1873, official stamps came along and replaced the free francs. Can you guys hear me here? Okay. Um, then the Congress passed a law so that congressional records, seeds, and agriculture reports could be mailed free of postage because the agricultural department didn't have any money and the congressional records were too heavy. And then in 1877, July 1st, penalty mail started in D.C. only, and then in May of 79, it went to the field offices, and around the Spanish-American War, actually started going into possessions and stuff. So we're going to go to the next slide. So what is the requirements for penalty mail? On the envelope, it must say official business, the department. The bureau name was not always there. It would be nice, but didn't have to be. And it had to have some writing that said penalty for private use, $300, or a really long phrase or really short thing that said just 300. And that's what penalty mail is. And it meant that the mail at that point in time could go through the mail as free. The government didn't like paying for the stamps. Okay. You got a clicker? Okay, so the first one is invalid penalty use in foreign countries. I've got Canada, China, and Hawaii. So what the couple of departments did, they provided the penalty covers to offices that were in Canada. Of course, there was no agreement at that time because the agreement was about 7 years, well, a few years later. So this is, so they always seem, oh, this has a 2 cent. Usually you see a 1 cent. They're going to send it unsealed circular so they can get it across the border. So you look at the next one. This is from New Brunswick, and this is a 1 cent stamp going back to Vermont. And there must be, I've only seen those two. There's got to be more. This is not really a U.S. penalty mail usage. There's probably hidden someplace, probably in Canadian collections. Then the next one is this is attempted use in the Shanghai post office, but it was going to Chifu, and there was no really relationship between the Shanghai post office and the get it over into China. So this is a Chifu penalty, postage due, and this is, I'm not sure what that is, by the way. I should know. It's going to Chifu. This says consulate in Chinese. And it was just they tried to send it as they would normally, but they weren't able to. The next one I think is more interesting. This is a use from in Hawaii. And can you see this? Is this? Oh, it looks a little fuzzy. Okay. The albatross was sent by basically, well, the Fish and Fisheries had it for a while, and they were trying to find a cable route to Hawaii where they could actually, have cable route. And so they got to Hawaii, and obviously they that was a foreign country at that point in time, so they had to get a stamp on it. Even though you have the penalty clause up here, it's still a non-use. So I think that's those are some strange areas. Then we have pre-territory and territory. Back up one more. Okay, no. There, stop. We have pre-territory and territory usages in Alaska and Hawaii. And they're not exactly possessions, but they're sort of like possessions. So if you look at the first one, this is an real early use out of Sitka, Alaska. This is before the gold rush, so there wasn't a lot of communication in Alaska at that time, and probably not a lot of people who could speak English and could write. So this is going down to Buffalo, New York, which is quite a ways away. It's a nice cover. It's probably the earliest Alaska use. There might be another one, but not really sure. Then the next one I like this next one. This is sent on a package, and the guy didn't have, of course, penalty covers weren't on packages, so he took something else and cut it up and pasted on here, a penalty cover, and this is from Fort William Seward down to Seattle, a registered cover. So they had to pay the registry fee, but everything else was covered by the penalty clause. And this is the earliest Hawaii penalty cover that. So this is a territory of Hawaii, December 1900. As far as I know, it's the earliest penalty use used in the territory. And I think it's, well, I happen to like the penalty mail because nobody cares about it, which is nice because you get things that are just really great. Okay, we'll go to the next one. So this is when the Spanish-American War, alphabetical, which were Cuba, Guam, Philippines, and Puerto Rico. So go ahead. So this is Cuba. So this is not in the recent book on Cuba. This is maybe in there someplace there might be one. This is a naval use from the USS Baltimore. Huh? Yeah, Brooklyn. Yeah, okay. Mailed in Havana, and it was going over to Havana, Cuba. So somebody there. Just a nice, just actually halfway decent, clean cover. Okay. Yep. So this is from the Adjutant General's office in Santiago, and it's going down to Guantanamo. I guess this is before we owned it, and it's just a nice, huh? Oh, okay. We borrowed it. Yeah. Yeah, we borrowed it with a gun. Okay. So the next one is I like this because it's got a couple things. This is a nice use out of Havana, but you'll notice up here it says Cuban Postal Service. That's in the penalty clause, actually. So this was printed for use in Cuba by the U.S. Post Office Department. And I like this. This is really neat. And Havana was basically an extension of the New York Post Office. Okay, and then Guam. Now, this is the earliest. Yeah, this is still the earliest. I bought a cover here this weekend that's not the earliest. So this has a penalty clause up here. So you know this thing. I think this has a penalty clause. It may not. Does it have one? No. Yeah. So it's not exactly a penalty clause. It should be. So this is to Spain. They had to pay foreign postage like anybody else because the penalty clause is only good inside the U.S. and U.S. possession. So there's a 5-cent stamp. And the next one. Yeah, but did you see a lot of writing a personal, and you know it's so that the secretary won't open it. And it may actually be official business. Okay. And then the next one should be, this is going to Saipan. And you can see here, you can see a little bit of the penalty clause there. So I like it's too bad they folded this. It's not very nice. And then the next one is the Navy Department, you know, penalty November 01. I just bought the September 01 penalty clause. It's a little bit bigger than this. Both of them are going to the Philippines. What I like about this is the fact there's interpossession. There's not a lot of interpossession mail. You know, it's either going back or to the U.S. that kind of thing. And this is actually going from Guam to the Philippines. Okay, then there's another one. I don't have a date on this one. It's really, I don't know if, yeah, I still haven't been able to figure out this smudge up here, but it's another penalty cover from Guam going back to the U.S. And then next should be Philippines. And so this is it may be the earliest known. There's some discussion about exact first day, but this is maybe the earliest known penalty cover. It's August 20th, 1898, and it's just a nice clean cover going back to the U.S. from the War Department. Yeah. Now I think this is 1901. Do you remember, Craig? Says that's what I wrote down. Okay, so this is military station number 1 in the Philippines. This is from the U.S. flagship Newark, and it turns out Newark is the only example I know of. I mean, Milgram has written a book on all kinds of ship stuff, and this is fabulous. This is the Newark City Seal, and there's nothing like this in any of the other ship mail. It's just a fabulous piece, and unfortunately, it's always had this tear up, this missing. So I'm probably not going to fix it because it's in a book this way, so it's a little hard to do anything with it. So anyway, I like this. This is a really neat cover. Yep. And this has a nice story. This was sent from Brazil to the Philippines. So it went in a consular pouch up to D.C. In D.C., they took it out. They said, "Oh, it's going to the Philippines." They put a penalty hand stamp on it and sent it to the Philippines. Well, it's the only one I know going from a foreign country through the U.S. and then back out as a penalty clause. The other thing that was interesting about this, and I think I have the contents. Oh, somehow I must have the contents. This guy wanted to trade stamps. This is a stamp collector writing to somebody else in the Philippines saying, "I've got some stamps, you've got some stamps, and we'll trade." So, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. So this is, I think, and probably going back, he might be able to get, well, that's U.S. infantry. So, no, that's where it's going to. So if it goes back to Rio, you can probably somehow, maybe you can figure out a way to get it back there free also. It's really interesting. Yep. And this is a Culion, is that right? A leper colony. And it's too bad the right-hand side's been messed up a little bit. There's a penalty cover. It's going to the Board of Health. This is while they were building, you go to the next slide. This is the corner card. This is while they were building the leper colony. It hadn't been finished yet. And I've never, finding anything from a leper colony of any kind of mail is fabulous. But a penalty cover, nah, this is great. Okay, and then Puerto Rico. So we have a military station 4 out of Puerto Rico going to New York. Kind of standard. There seems to be, and I don't know what the deal is, this postmaster in this city seemed to get a lot of penalty mail, money order business, whatever. This is not the only one from overseas going to this guy. Maybe he's a stamp collector, who knows? Yeah. So you were talking about El Granado, right? Did I pronounce it right? Almost? Okay. This is a cover from him, to him. It's from the Agriculture Weather Department in Puerto Rico, going to the Philippines. Why would you do that? What would the Weather Department in Puerto Rico know about the Philippines? It's really weird. Now, there was 4 or 5 of these covers, all going to the same place, all with a little stamped here thing. These were recovered and when we got everything together. This went from Puerto Rico to Victoria or Vancouver, one of those two, over to I think it was, oh, I should have written on there. I think it's Shanghai, and then to the Philippines. It wandered really strange. The other ones that I had an option to buy went from Puerto Rico through New York to boom. It's just no big deal. This is more interesting. I had a choice of 3 or 4, and I think one had previously been sold. So there's either 4 or 5 examples of this particular cover known. Yep. Oh, this is the back. You can see Vancouver there. You can see a military station in Manila, and I think this is Hong Kong. Okay, Hong Kong. All right, not Shanghai, Hong Kong. No, back up. Go back one. That says 99 right there. That's that's that has nothing to do with the postage. That's when the covers were confiscated by the government, right? Ah, oh, yeah. Oh, okay. Yep. We can skip that. Okay. Then this is the Commissioner of Education in Puerto Rico, sent it mailed inside of Puerto Rico. Just a nice straight penalty clause. Okay. Then there was some sea posts. There were about 4 ships that went back and forth from the U.S. to Europe, and they had an official U.S. post office on the ship, and you could mail anything as if it was the U.S. post office. And so the next cover, years ago, I don't know if you knew Bob Markovich, but he called me up and he told me to write a check for X amount of money to this different person. I said, oh, okay, what is it? It was this. He didn't charge me anything. Now, that's kind of out of character. So this is from the Paris Exposition, going back to the U.S. So if you go to the next slide, this is ship mail right here. And so on, did I say, go back? Go back, yeah. Yeah, okay, St. Paul. And this is from another envelope glued on the big envelope. Now, if we go back to the first slide there, you'll notice that this is actually printed in by somebody in Paris, because we wouldn't print it this way with the little umlauts or whatever the hell they are, the little accent marks. And this, go ahead, go one more. I now have in my possession a small envelope with the same thing in the upper left-hand corner, but this in the right-hand corner. So they took a small envelope, cut it apart, and put it on the big envelope. I think this is fabulous, more than just one thing. Yep. Okay, so we had some interactions with the Chinese, and the first one was the Boxer Rebellion. Okay. And this is the earliest Boxer Rebellion penalty use. And when I say that, it's based on other people's knowledge, not mine necessarily. I've been collecting this area over 45 years, but I can say what it is, but since this doesn't have a lot of track record. But this is going to Massachusetts, just a nice use out of the Boxer Rebellion. Then the next one is a nice postal agency, Shanghai. And this is the only recorded AR from Shanghai. It was the reception, basically registered mail receipt. And I had my hands on some of these other of these in Albert Chang's hands, and then they went away, and I don't know where they're at. They're probably lost. A different style. Okay. Then we acquired some areas by treaty, or sort of just took them over. First one is Samoa, I think. Yeah. Okay. So Samoa, I've been collecting U.S. penalty mail 45 years. For 40 years, I never saw a single penalty cover from Samoa. None. Zero. Within the last 3 to 5 years, you'll see all the ones that I know exist. This is the earliest use, and from post office to another foreign post office was free under the UPU. So this didn't require any stamps. It went from Pago Pago in Samoa to Sydney, New South Wales. Then the next one, this is similar. This is a nice cover. It's a 8-cent registry fee, 5-cent foreign postage, and you can see the little stars up here. Underneath that is a penalty clause, and you had to pay to get outside the U.S. and went through New York. This is a nice cover. I like this cover. Okay, and then the next one, you can see the penalty clause up here a little bit better. These are stars, 5-pointed stars, clear stars inside little circles, making a box around the penalty clause. Huh? Yes, yeah, absolutely. And what's nice about this cover, this is a foreign destination. It's triple weight, and it's going to the other half of the island, to Lanphear. So it's like, you probably could have walked it there. It's 15 cents. That's a lot of money back then. Anyway, so this is another nice one out of Samoa. Okay. And there's a few of these, not exactly like this, but the idea. You were sending either an order or money or some kind of paper back to, in this case, the American Type Founders, and there were other ones, and you just hit it with a penalty hand stamp and went back free. So you have you got foreign destinations, U.S. penalty clause. I mean, just this one area has basically everything you can do with a penalty mail. And then I think that's the last of the Pago Pago. Oh, there's one more. Okay. This is a different kind of penalty clause. This is paying, registry fee was still 8 cents, but you paid 2 cents overpayment. I don't know why. Maybe they just had a 10-cent stamp. So this is going back to San Francisco. Okay. And then I think this is the last cover. We took over the Canal Zone, and this is the earliest recorded Canal Zone penalty cover from July of 1904. And this is the one that's been referred to. Nobody knew who the guy wrote. There was a little itty bitty article about maybe 10 lines long and 1 column wide. It had a name on the end of it. And I asked some people that collect Canal Zone, and they didn't know what the name was. But this eventually showed up in I thought the guy in near here would have it, but he didn't have it. And this just got offered to me by a dealer, I think. And it's just amazing because it's the earliest known use. And I think, yeah, okay, one more. I like my relaxed guy. So, any questions from anybody? Might be able to answer. It's a it's a subset of U.S. official mail, penalty mail, and I'd have to say, well, I'm the big guy, big kahuna in penalty mail. I don't think there's anybody else that collects it. A couple of guys, but they don't collect really anything. So, your chance to ask questions.